Welcome to the Endurance Balance. I'm Coach J.W. McKenna. Joining me are Coach Alicia Phillips and Coach Ann Sharkey. Together, we break down the 80-20 philosophy through the lens of real life. Our goal is simple, to help you fit the training into the chaos. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to the Endurance Balance. I'm Coach JW, and joining me as always at the table are coaches Alicia and Coach Ann. Your head is pounding, your throat is scratchy, and your training peaks calendar is turning the terrifying shade of red. Welcome to the messy reality of being an everyday endurance athlete. In today's episode, we tackle the massive guilt that hits when sickness derails your training and explain why forcing a makeup session is probably the absolute fastest route to injury, or why we can probably get there a little faster by trying to stack everything. We'll explain that here shortly. It's time to stop cramming your workouts and learn how to smartly manage the chaos before it breaks you as an athlete. But first, as always, let's get into the training logs. Coach Ann, you dragon boat and you had a swim.
I didn't have dragon boat, and I'm a little sad about it. It was canceled for weather last week, and then this week was postponed for Easter, but they did get together Saturday. We had already made plans. And then I think I'm going to miss next week too. I shouldn't say it. I'm not sad, but one of my daughter's going to be on the other coast of Florida in from Hawaii. So I'm probably going to skip practice to go see her. So, but then the 18th of April, we do have a race. So that's gearing up to that. And then I did have a little open water swim race. That was last weekend. I was telling you guys before that I did not do the ocean. I did not do it justice. Is that what I want to try? I took it a little bit for granted that I can usually just jump back in a pool and swim, and it's okay. But the ocean, again, every time I swim in the ocean, it's a different ball game, and I learned something else.
Was it windy? Was it choppy?
It was very windy, actually. But the way that, so my friend Coral you guys, I wish you could come down and experience one of her events, because she has created a community like I have not seen. And it was a women's only open water swim event. It was very windy that day, but the way that she had it positioned, there's a little, it's at Sand Key Park. So there's a little jetty on the one end. And then, so the wind, like the water wasn't choppy. But the other really cool thing is, that open water can be super intimidating. She had included this race as like the finale for her open water swim camp. And, the entire race was positioned so that at any moment you could stand up, which is huge, right? Like, it's such a good way to get people comfortable and to get these ladies like comfortable in the water. So I just saw this really cool community come together, and the bond that these ladies had formed from training together, but also just from the weekend. And then the encouragement at the end, when everybody finished, they grabbed a cowbell and lined up along the little chute and cheered everybody on. And there were a lot of high fives. And it was just really cool. It was good to be back out there. I do need to swim more before I do that again, though. So the end. That's all I got to say about that.
That's all we're getting.
That's all you got. That's all I got.
Any athletes you'd like to highlight?
I have. It's funny because this is absolutely going to tie into the episode. I have my athlete that's hitting it strong on Ironman training. Did just have a little vacation in the middle, not in the middle, but like kind of gearing towards the peak of her Ironman training. Another athlete I know is juggling life and school and children and all of those things. So it's been good. It's been balancing all of that. I did just leave a note for somebody, Mary, who's probably listening, to get on her bike this weekend because she has a half Ironman in 8 weeks. So, it's just those little nudges and those little reminders of like, we still have a thing to do in a little while, and you have to respect the distance. That's what I was trying to say earlier, like respecting the ocean. You have to really respect the distance whenever you're doing something like that. So, but they'll get it. I have no doubts for any of them. They'll get it. They know what it takes. And they, sometimes you just need a little course correction, and it can be life, it can be sickness, which I know we'll talk about tonight. It can be vacations. It could be a whole long list of things, but sometimes you just need a little bit of a course correction. I will also say for myself, I need a little bit of course correction because I had a very stressful couple of weeks at work. And last week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday did not start out well at all. And it just snowballed into the rest of the week. I just looked at my training peaks and I lifted once and I walked once. And that's all I had. Like mentally, that is absolutely all I had all week. So then, celebrated the birthday with my rear in the beach chair on the sand. And that's also how I
what
entered.
You needed.
That's what I needed. Yes, absolutely. So anyway,
for our
that's
listeners,
all.
Anne just had a birthday, so happy birthday, Anne.
Yes, thank you.
Happy birthday, Anne.
Thank you. Alicia, how about you?
Yeah, so again, this is gonna play really well because I, before I was sick, and then I would just got back from spring break. We didn't do any workouts, but we were very active. We were chasing waterfalls, we were hiking, we were doing lots. I got lots of steps in, but it was an interesting of like I could have woken up and gotten for a run, but it was like I chose to sleep in. And the reality is the places where we were at, it was really busy roads. I would have to drive to the trail, go for the bike, and I just wanted to like enjoy that time with my family. But I had great workouts leading up to the vacation, and then as soon as we got back, I was able to jump back in, and it was almost like my body needed that recovery to keep going, and came back much rejuvenated, excited about training, and getting back into that flow. So it's kind of one of those things. Maybe you just needed that too. So, but I did my first half simulation for HYROX, so we did all 8 runs at the correct distance, so 1,000 meters or just over a half mile, and we did half for the most part, distances for all the station work. So instead of doing 1,000-meter row, we did 500-meter row. And I did it, and it took me just over an hour. And it was humbling, but it was one of those things of like, I can complete this race. Like, it was those little, it's kind of like when you do your first brick or you do your first long run and you're like, okay, or your first 20 miler and you're like, okay, I can do this. Like, I'm ready. It was that little bit of confidence boost I had. And, but like, this is a beast. Like, again, respect the race is not something you can just show up and wing it. And I think that's, again, goes back to like, why do we race in general? We sign up for these things to motivate us to show up for training, to do something, again, that little like scares us a little bit, to get out of our comfort zone. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So here we are. And then I have a few athletes. Some are kind of dealing with some little taper tantrums. So having the like we did talk about last week of just the nervous system, little things wiggling. And so it's just reminding yourself this is part of the process. Trust your training, trust where you're at, but be mindful of this is your body. Listen to it. Be in charge of it. Don't always follow that watch or that HRV or anything like that. But look at everything else too, of just how you're sleeping, how you're feeling, how's the life stress doing. So all those things that are just, and then I have another athlete who's well into his Ironman training. And I just find it mind-boggling as his coach. Most time when I see an Ironman, it's more about, again, surviving the distance, hanging on to the training. But he's not only surviving the training, he's like dominating. Like, I keep having to adjust his zones because his zone 2, I'm like, your heart rate's too low. We got to bump it up. This is not, and it's amazing because he's putting in all these hours, all this thing, and his fitness levels, he's getting faster, he's getting stronger, his watts are going up. So it's really fun to just be on that journey as well.
Which one is he doing?
Lake Placid.
Oh, good. Good for him. That's great. I have a question
Yeah.
about your HYROX training, backing up from the athlete. You said we did a simulation. Are you training? Is this with your sister? You're training together?
Okay, yeah. So my sister's in Michigan. I'm in New Jersey. So we are not really, we're kind of doing some different training in general. But at my gym, there is every Fridays at 9 a.m., we have a performance prep class. So it's a bunch of people who are also just doing HYROX in our local area. And it's a kind of a progressive. So everyone is doing the same exact race, and every Friday it's just once a week that the class kind of progresses. But it's that community aspect. So you're like, okay, she's doing it, I'm doing it, we're doing this together. Hang on to it. Don't give up. Don't pause your watch. Suffer together. The music's loud. Other people in the gym are kind of like, what's looking at you? It's just that kind of nature of just exactly what it's going to be like at HYROX. Yeah. So there's, I think there's like 6 of us. It's not a huge class. And,
That's great, though.
yeah.
I mean, that's something,
It's
accountability.
that community.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Something to look forward to. I have it scheduled in my calendar of like, this is just like a doctor's appointment. I got to be there.
Yeah.
And then the other, I kind of like maneuver around my runs, my strengths, my conditionings, all that stuff in between. But that's like my fun. That's the class that I look forward to the most. But it's also like, it's going to be hard. Make sure you eat breakfast. Make sure you've carved up the night before. And that's the class I've also been toying with my bicarb.
Oh, good.
So yeah, and it is seriously, I feel like it's a game changer. I go back to that. Try some bicarb.
Good. That's awesome.
How about you, JW?
Yeah, just the typical chaos kind of going on over here. We just we talked before hitting record about some family talk, some loud family talks, and some everything else that's going on. But outside of that, it's really good. It's athletes are, I'm sitting here listening to both you, Coach Ann and Alicia, is that even though we are separated geographically, right? Like I'm up here in Canada, and we got Anne where she is down in Florida, and then yourself over it's New York, right? New Jersey, New Jersey, right? And yet we and our athletes all seem quite similar in like the woes or the troubles or the life events that show up. I've had a few athletes, same thing. When was on holidays, was camping, last week, and I'd get a few messages every now and then of, I didn't quite get all this done, but I did this, and I was with the kids, right? And that's such a great reset kind of thing, right? Like, and he's 5 weeks out from his 70.3. And yet he's like, hey, I got camping and I'm not sure how we can kind of fit the training and stuff like that. So don't worry, we'll make it work. Right. The main thing is go out, take advantage of the reset opportunity, and we'll get you some activity. And so he was moving. It's not like you said, you were active, but you didn't necessarily have certain things scheduled. I had stuff scheduled for him, but it was more like, are you going to be doing this bike ride with the kids? But you'll be out there for a few hours. So, stuff like that is, in my mind, totally okay, right? Like we don't want that stressing, and you got to fit it all into that chaos of life. And then I had another athlete who had some life stuff go on, and we took a week and just really pulled back on the training. He's also, he's about halfway through his 70.3. training. So as we know, any triathlete that is training, any triathlete that's listening, we get it. Your volume is huge, right? I mean, you're 3 sports training. It has to be huge, like those 12, 14 hours a week, whatever it is that your athletes are doing. But instead of just stopping and shutting down, we came up with a plan of, doing something every day, but we're not going to have double days for you. And we're going to just adjust the workout and the sessions for you. And then I was, programming him for this week, on the weekend, and sent him a little message and says, hey, how's it going? Are we good to kind of come back? And it's like, oh yeah, we're retesting zones and we're coming back and I'm excited. I'm rejuvenated. You go into training peaks and you look at, the fatigues and everything else that are happening in there. And a lot of that drop, but I look at the win for that athlete is on the mental side, just even that mental refresh coming back, and kind of getting ready to go. And I think that's going to tie into a lot of what we're talking about tonight. We're going to talk about when you're sick, skip sessions, miss sessions because life, right? I mean, how many times have we got that text message? Sorry, I missed the session tonight because my kid was, insert life problem here, right? The reality of it is not a problem, but it's just life came up, right? We're adults and apparently we have to adult every now and then. So it's all good. We're going to talk about the sickness. We're going to talk about, should we or should we not do makeup sessions? I mean, show of hands or a yay or nay, how many athletes come to you as a coach and or tell you as your coach and say, I was sick, but I'll do it tomorrow with the other workout I'm doing. So now they're stacking all their workouts while just kind of coming back from sick. Very common. And I get where they're coming from because they don't want to miss the training. Again, show of hands, how many athletes tell you that they hate seeing red in the training plan, right? I get it. Okay. But we're going to tell you why maybe seeing some red every now and then is good. Right. And you keep the green that should be green. And, the reds and the yellows are probably there for a reason. So I think the first part of this that we'd like to lead in with is, and we'll start with your thoughts, Coach Ann. When you're sick, do you, and this would be kind of the same for both of you, do you skip the workout? When do you skip a workout? And do you try to replan it? Like, what do you tell your athletes, when they come to you and say, I think I'm feeling sick? And I want to caveat that what I think we're all going to be talking about tonight, or on this episode when you're listening, is when we talk about sick, we're thinking anything from really the neck down, right? So, do you have a cough? Do you have problems breathing because you're, allergies even? We talked a little bit about that before we hit record. Do you have the flu, the stomach, the fatigues, all that kind of stuff? So Coach Ann, what do you think on that when an athlete comes to you and tells you they're sick, and how do you structure those workouts?
I'm going to give you the old famous, it depends.
As you should.
As you should. So for me, I think you really already covered it, right? With if it's something in your chest and up, if it's in your head, if it's just down here. I think we touched a little bit about this before we hit record. Seasonal allergies are real right now. I mean, we've got so much pollen that's covering the cars. It's been horrible. So if I've got something just kind of brewing, or an athlete has something just brewing in their head, by all means, as long as you're not running a fever or anything like that, get out there, get your run in the best that you can. I mean, I don't expect that you're going to nail it exactly the way that it's scheduled, but if you can, for me, growing up as a swimmer, if I've got something in my head, I'm in the pool, because that's one quick way to clear it. And as disgusting and as gross as that is, other swimmers will get it. So that's what the gutter was invented for, along the this side of the pool.
And that is why I only swim first thing in the morning after a long weekend.
Yes.
Let the chlorine work.
It's right. Make sure that they've done their testing. But even being on the bike, I don't know about y'all, this is probably a little TMI, but my nose runs more on the bike than anything else. So for me, that's just kind of my go-to, just do the best I can on the run. The other ones are pretty much fair game. Anything neck and below, or if you're running if you're running a fever, like put yourself on the couch. Just don't.
Mhm.
You're going to do
Mhm.
more damage than good. If you have something chest and below, again, it depends. Like I trained through what I found out later was COVID. When I was first running marathons, one of my long runs, this is probably another long episode, but I would train up to we would go to mile 20. And then on this particular coach that we were with Team and Training would take us up to 22, then back to 20. Every time we hit 20 and 22, I would get sick. So I had bronchitis running 22 miles to the point where I was hacking my lungs out, throwing up after I had coughed so hard. But I'm like, by God, I'm going to get my 22 miles in. It was awful. And it knocked me out. I mean, knowing now, if I would have known then what I know now, it would have been a completely different ball game. But I didn't know, and I didn't have that person telling me it's okay to cut this short. It's okay to call it at a certain point. I was just looking at it like, but it says 22 miles. I got to go get it done. And if I don't, I'm not going to be successful. So that's where really linking in with your coach is important, because it is okay. It's okay to take a break. You're not going to lose your fitness overnight. You're not going to even lose it in, I think what we're saying, JW, like 3 days ish, but
Yeah.
you can you can do more harm than good if you push through those really, really sick times. I would say that, I've had athletes where they've come back and said, listen, I haven't, actually, it's funny because it's just popped in my head, and I had an athlete that had the flu. I think she said she lost like 5 pounds. And that way it's like, we've got to readjust for quite a bit, because she hadn't been eating. I'm not going to keep like a 2-hour bike ride in there if you haven't eaten and you've lost 5 pounds over the last week. So those are things, and those are tips and tricks and tweaks that AI is not going to make for you whenever
No.
you decide to make the old trusty AI plan. It's just really having somebody that can sit back, and it might be day by day. We might say, okay, try this workout. And if it doesn't work and you feel crappy and your heart rate is spiking, then we're going to readjust for the next day. And you may have quite a few rest days in a row, but a rest day can also be, maybe it's a cardio rest, but maybe you're working on mobility. Maybe you can still do some planks and some strength work. I mean, it depends. So,
No, for sure. And I
but
even think most of that. Sorry, I was just gonna. I even think most of that 5 pounds is fluid loss.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
Right?
one of the other questions you had asked too is like, do you try to make it up? And no, I mean, I'm a big believer anyway of, if you can't make a workout happen for life or whatever, don't take it and stack it on another day. Don't move it around Training Peaks. Like, talk to me. We'll figure it out. We'll see what we can do. But, for sickness, no, we regroup. I will leave it at that, because I think we might touch on like vacations, or we'll touch on vacations in a little bit after
we
we
will.
get through this one.
We will.
Um,
Do you leave? So if you're using Training Peaks, do you leave those sessions in there and make notes like, sick, availability, sick, or something like that? I do, right? Like I like to
do.
leave the sessions there, and I tell the athlete, don't worry about it. My athletes, you're listening, close your ears, but I hate it when they move stuff around on me.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, or they delete it because they did something different. I'm just like, oh, what did I tell them last week? Because I don't,
Right?
it fits a certain way, right, into our master plan. And I use those visuals a lot in there. And, but it's okay I like it because it's okay to leave it there. You see red. And then when next time, and this just comes to the visual, I think, of athlete, I'm not making gains. I was sick and everything. So yeah, but here's where you were sick. We can go back and see, we made a note. You didn't lose anything because your graph was still going up. Right?
I
It's still
take it. I
vertical.
will hide it, so it doesn't like throw them off kilter. But even if whatever adjustments I do make, I hide the workout that I had originally put in there just so
Okay.
that I can go, because, JW, at our age, like, our memory is like not a little, we're like, shit, what did I put in there? I don't even remember.
yeah.
So I have to hide it so then they can't move it around. So
We'll
I
call
need
that
all
the
the help
Gen
I
X
can.
memory.
Yeah, I need all the help I can get.
That's awesome.
No, perfect. Yeah, and we're definitely going to build on that here shortly. But Coach Alicia, how about yourself?
Yeah, so I'll just be a little actionable, little coachable guide. So I have like a little green light, yellow light, red light. So just kind of reiterate with Anne. So it's okay to move lightly. Sometimes I think it's almost better. Like she said, get in the pool, blow some little snot rockets. Motion is lotion. If it's mild above the neck and your energy feels mostly normal. Yellow light, again, if you're feeling fatigue, you got that lingering cough, and if your heart rate is elevated, okay, proceed with caution. Not going to say full stop, don't do anything, but let's keep it zone 1. Let's go for a walk. Let's move. Again, and it depends, but proceed with caution, yellow. And then full stop, just like Anne said, fever, body aches, chest congestion, deep fatigue, don't. Like, you're gonna do more harm than you do good. And stay away from making up the workouts. Again, prioritize just keeping it easy, easing back into it. You're likely just going to backfire if you try to stack workouts, make up workouts, or push through things. Your recovery debt. So I want you to think, you don't owe your training anything. Training is something you earn by being healthy enough to do it. You're going to have higher risk of injury. Your nervous system's going to overload. That's going to compromise your sleep, your hydration levels. It's just going to put you in a ripple effect. So just don't do it. And
Can we have a moment for that little quote that you just said about training? Say that again. I feel like I need a coffee mug with this little, or like a bumper sticker or something. What did you say? Training is?
You don't owe your training anything. Training is something you earn by being healthy enough to do it.
Absolutely.
Love
End of podcast. Good night. That's it. I love that. That is so true. And I've not ever heard it put in a more simplistic and better way. Kudos, Coach Alicia.
It's perfect. It's great, right? And I totally agree with both what you're both saying. Now, before I go off of one of my tangents here, Alicia, you don't try to reschedule, right? Like you just it's a missed workout's a missed workout, right? And that is great. I think that should be, with what we know now, that should be almost the standard. Like, if you're sick, you miss it. Right? Like that's just life. I mean, that's just fitting the training into the chaos. Hey, someone should write a tagline like that. It's perfect, right? Because, how often are you sick more than a few days? And I think even as a few days, when you're heavy or at the high end of those symptoms, where, like you say, you're not doing anything, and, before I go any further, I totally agree. Anything from the neck down, right? I'm like, if you're neck down, feeling systematic on being sick, talk to us, talk to the coach, or skip the workout and just say, why did I skip it? Right. And then, the head up, I totally agree, Coach Ann, what you were saying, a few stuffies, you can work it out, go for your run outside. And like you say, it's not rockets or whatever it is. And you're probably, most of the time, I've come back feeling pretty good. But in that 1 to 3 days, you don't lose any fitness. Right? Like, you may feel like you're losing it, and there's the science side of it potentially, but you're not, right? Like, it even comes into the taper that we talked about, in last episode, is there's a lot going on, but you're not losing a huge amount of fitness. So in that 1 to 3 days, we're just looking at recovery, and to bring it back a little bit on the science side. So really, what does the CNS, the central nervous system, do? It's recruiting our motor units, right? The muscle fibers during exercise. If you are fighting something that's, viral or bacterial, so any of those kinds of infections, the cold, the flu, anything like that, the COVID, those types of things, the body initiates that systematic inflammatory response. right? So we want that inflammatory response. It's doing its whole thing to fight it, right? So the body is now focusing and, going, and this is why we want you to rest, like, lay on the couch. Totally agree. Go lay on the couch, chillax, or catch up on whatever binge watch show you want to watch on Netflix and recover, stay hydrated, all those types of things. Because that that inflammatory response, that's going to be taxing heavy on the CNS, and the body will prioritize what does, because obviously if it's fighting that kind of that viral, right, or that that sickness, that's going to be the priority for the body. So it's going to take all its resources from the CNS and throw it at that to make it better. So with us trying to do workouts while we're sick like that, we are going to break down the body, right? And that's the whole idea. We break down the tissues so it can be repaired. Supercompensation, right? That's a term that us coaches will always use. That, that's the science of why we go out, do the hard sessions, the long sessions, so we can build it down, tear it down so it comes back stronger, right? I've said it a couple of times. We treat we tear it down so the body says, hey, stop doing that. I'm going to have to come back stronger so that when you do it, I can be ready for it. That's what our training is for those events. So while it's in that super compensation, it can't do it, right? And so now even the immune system, right? So it's kind of going to be fighting itself. That, it's fighting the sickness, it's fighting our training fatigue or our training stress, and then it's going to be just the immune system it's going to take you longer to recover. So basically, again, I will say on this one is that if it's from the neck down, your physiological adaptation rate is going to be 0. You cannot get any fitness gain out of it while you're already in a repair mode for being sick. And so all you're going to do, and you both mentioned this already, is that you're just going to fatigue yourself even more. So it's going to take longer to get over being sick, and you're going to open that door to injury because you are fatigued, right? I mean, how many out of all your injured athletes that you've both had, how many, or would it be a greater percentage that got injured probably from overtraining or being fatigued?
This is one of my favorite sayings, is that I would rather have you at the start line undertrained than 1% overtrained. And I am very proud to say that I've had athletes come to me injured, but I've never had an athlete get injured when they listen to the training plan. And very honestly, it's not a common occurrence for I want to say my athletes, and I'm just putting ownership on myself for this, is that I don't have them get sick often, because I think using the it's no secret, we all three use the 80-20 balance in our training. That also plays a huge part in this, is that you shouldn't be so broken down that at 22 miles you're hacking up from bronchitis. Like your body just shouldn't be that broken down at that point in training. Should you be tired? Absolutely. But you should be able to be healthy enough and stay healthy enough. Now, again, it depends. I know things happen, but I'm a big believer in, if you are if you're working out, if you're washing your hands, if you are eating the best that you can. I am also have been on like a no alcohol kick for not only myself, but for my athletes. And it's something like, those things are key elements to staying healthy. And if you really want this, bad enough, if this goal that you have set for yourself, if you want it bad enough, I would hope that you would put all of those pieces into the puzzle. And if you're all in for a big, scary goal, that those things can help you get through training healthy. And then it's not uncommon that on the backside of a race, when you've just left it all out there, you have maybe traveled to the race, you're tired, you're exhausted, that cumulative fatigue. Now you've like decompressed, then yes, you most not all, but it's more likely that you will get sick at that point. And then you got time to recover, and it's like do what you have to do. But I'm a huge believer in, we talked about this before I went to Key West about being so scared about getting sick, is that zinc, vitamin C, hand sanitizer, just being extra cautious, really pays off, especially in those key crucial times. But then again, like, you guys have your little petri dishes at home after like the kids bring weird stuff home from school, that sometimes it's just inevitable. But it's staying in the best shape that you can be to protect yourself, is really what it's all about.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it too, if you're in the base season of your off season, or you like a month out from your race too, is just, can you play catch up? Or is this, okay, we got to really pull back. Again, let's get you to the start and reassess what the finish is going to be like.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I actually am thinking back, this isn't necessarily an illness. This is not an illness at all. But I joke that through all 4 of my pregnancies, it would be in the middle of a training season. Like, I remember distinctly, I was 9 weeks into my half Ironman training, and I found out I was pregnant, and I was like, no. Again, not an illness, but it's definitely going to deter you, and it's going to change the outcome of the race. But I still did the race. I modified a lot, but training changed a lot, but kept going. And then I'll remember this one, as I was doing a triathlon, and then day before we were doing kind of like a shakeout, just checking out the course. And going into that race, I'm like, I am so good. I remember my sister, she actually was pregnant, and and I'm like, why can't I breathe? Like, I just feel so, and did the race. The race was really hard. And like driving home, I stopped and got a pregnancy test, and I found out I was pregnant, and I was like, oh, that explains so much, So again, it's
oh, it's so funny, because I have had my athlete, who is also a dear friend of mine, who is doing Ironman, Stephanie, I'm just going to say her name because I know I hope she listens to this, but I'm going to call her out. She is also my friend who has, they're in the midst of Ironman training and selling a house and moving and all of the fun things. But I've known them before they had kids. They have 3 kids now. And she, first half Ironman, had just found out that she was pregnant, like, I think maybe a day or so before she started the race. And then second,
so she's like,
yeah, so she ended up, it was a really, really rough swim. And I remember her, they had pulled quite a few people from the swim. So she DNF'd that swim, but with good intentions. She's like, my heart rate was just way too high. I couldn't do it. And then the second and the third baby, both times she was half Ironman training, and she was pregnant with both kids. In fact, the last one, we were working through some things at the half Ironman, and she's like, we were on the run. She was walking, because it's a whole long story, but she was walking. I was with her, and she's like, I think I'm pregnant. I'm like, really? And turns out she was. So this poor girl has not done, I think she ended up doing like 1 half Ironman not pregnant, and then Ironman, like, we're getting through this. So yeah, it really is a huge change and a pivot, and a lot of modifications that have to happen. And then but moms do it, and they get through it. One of the things at my open water swim, just this last weekend, is that one of the moms, there were a lot of little kids running around. She finished the swim. I saw her get out, and she was still breastfeeding, and went over and and kudos to those women who are still out there doing things and making their way and finding their own space with all of the things that motherhood puts in our way.
Well, I can't say I found out I was pregnant during training, but Jess did. So to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was like, man, yeah, it was the Black Spur Ultra, and sorry, a little pop up there. It was the Black Spur Ultra, and she actually ran it in her second trimester. Right. And we still joke because that race was, 11 years ago now. And so when they say, hey, who's been here the longest at this race? We always have Runa put her hand up now. And because she's, she was there the very first year before she was born, kind of thing, but she ran it, just piggybacked with mom. But it's, the training changed a little bit, and the strategies. And then, like you say, going to another race after that and trying to, like you say, breastfeed, or who's going to take care of babies. So total hats off to you women that are able to do that, fit that kind of chaos, which is a great chaos, into training, and still staying active. Like it's crazy. Like I'll go out there and I'll cry sometimes when I just got to do something normally, right? And then, well, I ran with Runa. She never said that, but she probably should, right? Like, I ran with Runa in the second trimester. I may even been the third. I think it was the end of the second. And and I have no idea what childbirth and carrying was like, but I can imagine it's that much more fun when you're out on the trails. So
So much fun.
Oh, yeah. So I think we all agree, athletes, don't make it up, right? Like, don't try to come back and stack those days. I'm going to throw some more numbers at you here shortly as to why that's a bad idea. But it's the makeup session is that when you talk to your coach, at least when they come and talk to me, and it's just like, depending on what they missed, right? I may rearrange the schedule a little bit. Like if there was a key session that they needed, or they have a key session that week, and now they're coming back, and that's right after they've just finished kind of getting over whatever bug's been ailing them. I'll probably tell them, no, you're going to do just a simple foundation run with the absolute permission to run walk it as you needed. And we'll get that other one in somewhere else and figure it out. To me, it's just, it just makes sense. Just get back into it when you can. But I don't like the makeup sessions, and I get the psychology of it for the athletes. Like they think they're going to miss something and they need it, or their key sessions. But I don't think so. You got to protect the body. It's always going to come back to my circle of success, and/or that just a holistic as an athlete, right? Like I was on a call with somebody latter part of last week, and I said, the coach part of me would love to say, yeah, let's go out and just hammer this hard and get you over it. But the other side of coaching for me is just like, but I want you here for the next couple of years. I don't want you dropping out because of an injury, or because you got sick, or you got injured while you were sick, and then having such a negative experience during your training as well. I just got a comment over the weekend, I think it was, where an athlete just came back and said, I'm loving this returning to sport. Like that was the best and furthest I've ran in a long time. And I'm not feeling injured. I'm not feeling sick, and I'm not feeling all this kind of everything along with it. So, I think it's good, and we're going to talk a little bit as to, why you don't want to stack them up. Has anybody heard on the call here? Has anybody heard of the acute to chronic workload ratio? Have you heard that term in the past? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right. And so, if you, as a coach that are out there listening, it's I can't remember who came up with that one. I thought I had it in my note, but I do not. But it's basically a scale, right? And we're going to get some more thoughts from Coach Ann and Alicia here in a second, but I'll tie it back to what it's going to look like in your training peaks, right? The fatigue numbers and things like that, as to what do we expect to see for jumps, and what you probably have seen when you try to work through being sick. So before we get into talking about detraining or deconditioning, before we hit record on this episode this evening, the caveat or the addition to what we were going to talk about was, how do you flex? So, Alicia, I think you talked a little bit about it, but how do you flex for your holiday? I was going to ask, like, do you plan what you're going to do or not going to do? But I think hearing what you had said, you planned not to do anything structured, and you were going to go a little more. I know we're going to be active, and this is what we did. But how do you so explain a little bit more how you did that on your spring break? But how do you relay that back to an athlete, or how do you explain it to them when you're programming?
Yeah, and obviously there's gonna be a lot of it depends. So I know obviously for HYROX it's very specific and like strength training is a big deal, but it's obviously a huge running. So in my mind, I was like, if I get some runs in, great. If I don't, I know we were very, in general, most of our trips that we plan are we're moving around. We're moving a lot of steps. We're exercising. We're running around chasing kids, but it's also like kind of about the unwind. I know my race isn't in for another 2 months. Gosh, is it already coming up that much? So I'm not in it. I don't have any like, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. Now, again, if you're going somewhere and you're doing a triathlon or something like that, and you don't have access to a bike or a pool, it's okay. One, you're not going to lose fitness. If anything, I think it's going to help your fitness. Yes, maybe you're not building fitness, but you're also not losing fitness. And I think it's kind of that just nice reset you might need to come back feeling recharged, rejuvenated, excited to be running again, especially if you're just so used to being in the grind. But there's a few things that, we can do. I did, one thing I remember I always do, like, I like to do a hard workout the day before I'm traveling, just so I know, like, okay, this is a set recovery day. I'm going to be sitting for a long time, or if I'm going on an airplane, I'm big, like, I want to do a hard workout the day before, knowing that. So that's kind of like one thing you can kind of get into. But my 3 kind of keys on this one is just focus on maintenance, okay? A couple light, easy runs. Don't worry if you skip. You're not going to lose fitness in 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. And don't get in your head the more you stress about not getting on a workout. And I will say, like, by the time I came back, I was already, like, scheduling my workouts. Like, the fact that I was excited to get back into my routine. I know I'm very much of a, like, routine person. That tells you just, again, that I wasn't feeling burnt out or tired or exhausted from my training. Having a down week. So if you can plan your vacations, for me, it's like every 3 to 4 weeks, I do kind of install a down week for my athletes. So if I know an athlete is going on vacation that week, we'll just do an intentional down week. So you're not missing some of the big fitness gains that you could get, and be focusing on absorbing your training and not having any structured running. This actually often leads to like a breakthrough week when you come back. So same thing like a deload week is, you come back and you're just a little bit stronger. You got a little bit more oomph in the step. Your thresholds feel a little bit better. My other one is just doing like a total full, which is what I kind of did, just a full mental and physical recharge of just no pressure to wear your watch to get that fitness. You run by feel or you walk, and just truly have that holiday. So a lot of big athletes, especially when they talking about the long run. Well, what do I do? I'm stressing out that I'm missing the long run. A couple options I would say is just move it. Again, if if you just had a long run, don't do back-to-back long runs. It's okay to skip one long run. Just putting that out there. You can shorten it significantly. Again, one long run is not going to break your race. Maybe if you're missing like 4 long runs in a row, we might have to reassess the situation. But I think the downtime is worth it for your mental health, for your family health, for your life stress. don't not book the vacation because you're in a training block, period.
So agree. And I know I can even go back to last summer. We try to camp when we can, long weekends, we camp before or after events and things like that. And we do like to go on the hikes and we do like to go on the runs just because it's, where we are and where we get to go in the foothills or in the Rockies and things like that. It's so awesome to be able to do it. But I can remember sitting there, if I'm plugging it away at work or something like that, and just like, I don't know if I want to do today's run. I'm like, so don't do it. Kind of there, like you're camping. You want to go do it? Cool. Or go shorten it up, right? Just whatever, just wing it. I agree. I think oftentimes as athletes, we just add way too much stress to ourselves. We got enough stress from the training. You probably got enough stress from work and from life and from family and all this other stuff. Don't make up stress, right? Just all I ask for my athletes, just talk to me as your coach, right? And we'll have that conversation. And at the end of the day, I'll make it work for you. Right. And I'll, if you're concerned about losing fitness, I'll tell you, well, you might lose some, but like you're saying, I think you'll come back better. I think you'll do this. I'll think that. But at the end of the day, I don't think anybody will really have negative effects from taking a break or dialing it back a little bit when you're on vacation. Keep it fun. Now, yes, obviously, I mean, if you are elite, if you're whatever and you're paid, those are going to be different. We don't need to stack ourselves up against that kind of a measure stick. So just remember that we're real people, doing this for fun and for intrinsic reasons of why we want to, take on training for a marathon, training for Ironman, for whatever it is. You should be telling me as a coach that you hate me some days after certain sessions, but I also want to hear how much you're loving the process of getting to where it is that you want to go. So just kind of keeping it fun. And yourself?
Vacations make me nervous. I'm not gonna lie. It does because I'm like, oh no, we gotta like really pivot here. So, Stephanie Ironman did just have a vacation last week, but it fit in so well because it was a recovery week for her anyway. And we talked the week before she went on vacation and came up with a good game plan. Like, I knew she wasn't going to take her bike along. That was like an unreasonable expectation anyway. I would have loved for her to get an ocean swim in, but she left me a little note and said it was red flagged the entire time that they were there. So, but she's like, I played in the waves quite a bit. I'm like, I love that. So that was good enough. And then it's funny because she used to be one of my running partners back in the day, and it's fun now to see that we were talking about the run, and I said, I don't want you to feel like you have to get up at the crack of dawn and get this done. Like, I want you to enjoy your vacation. She goes, actually, I've really been enjoying the runs lately, so I have no problem getting that in. I'm like, perfect. So she got a couple of runs in, and that was fine. When she got back, I mean, they drove, I don't know how many hours it was. It was quite a haul, but we made it work. She does have another little work event coming up that absolutely hits at her peak training for Ironman. So we do have to pivot a long ride, which we're not just talking like a 2-hour ride that we have to move. We're talking like the peak ride of training. So we'll figure it out.
3.5-hour ride. Yeah.
No, like this is a 6-hour ride.
Is it a 6-hour ride? Nice.
Yeah. So we'll figure it out. But then, I'm all for vacations and making sure that you get a chance to unplug. I see the benefit of it. I 100% do. My feeling also on the flip side of that is in this case, it's a work event that coincides with like peak week. Unavoidable. It is what it is. We had actually talked about it long before when I kind of had her Ironman plan laid out. But then I also am a big believer in if you are highly motivated to go do this big thing, then maybe we think about a vacation on the backside of the big thing. So, and again, like I'm all for vacations and I love them, but at the same time, if it's a priority, then maybe we forgo a couple of fun trips or things that are definitely within your control. Things that are not in your control, family events, like work events, 100%. But if they are in your control and you've got this big monstrous goal and it just doesn't make sense, and you've talked to your coach and your coach is like, oh man, this is not in a good time, then maybe we just don't do it at that point. I don't
Or
know.
maybe the vacation allows you to open up more time so you can actually do more volume. I have an athlete who's
Yeah.
currently training, and they were able to, like, he's like, this is, give me more almost. And I was like, don't you want to hang out with your family? And he's like, yeah, but it's like, I have the time. I'm not working.
That's
I'm
true.
not having to drive to and from it, you know? And so your vacation doesn't mean it needs, you can maybe even add more to it. It doesn't have to be a total derailment.
Right.
So there's
No,
options,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah. There
Like
are options.
hotel.
I mean, that's what I was going to say. I actually had in my little note there that you just said at JW is like, if that's what you want to do, like that's absolutely fine too. But then put in your mind that you're going to be on the treadmill in the hotel if there's not a safe place to run outside. I'm all for exploring the new trails and things around where you're staying, or if you're at grandma and grandpa's house and you know that there's a great place to run, then yes, 100% go do it. But you have to make that plan ahead of time and kind of have a plan in place to make sure that the work's still being done.
Well, and I think a lot of the gyms, the box gyms, if you want to call them, if you're out of town and you show up at any one of those box gyms and just say, hey, I'm a member in my hometown, I just, can I come for a couple of days to work out? I've yet to, when I was doing it, I've yet to have a gym say no, right?
Yeah.
Or, sorry, we got a $5 drop-in fee. You know, pay for your towels that they're going to wash or something. I don't know.
I know the Y is great about that, the reciprocal program with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime Fitness is a big one here, where they say all across Canada, you can go to any one of our gyms anytime. So I think they're all like that. And again, you will, depending on how important the goal is for you, you will find a way if it's important, right? And then it's just
it goes back to what is your why, and your why has to be big enough. Right. And it's got to be big enough to make the sacrifices, whether it's the sacrifice of the vacation or the sacrifice of being up before everybody else on vacation, or, even if, my gosh, I know people that have gone on a cruise ship and have turned on their Garmin on Strava and like gone around like the deck or like jumped on a treadmill. And that's where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, and whatever your priority is, don't ever feel guilty for it. Like Coach Alicia, right? Hers was, it's family time. We're going to do things as a family, so do it. And don't feel bad about it, because again, I think that just comes back to putting more of the stress on that you just don't need. And I agree, Coach Alicia. I think 9 out of 10 times you will come back from a recovery week probably stronger than if you stressed it out when you're doing it. We're coming up on the hour here shortly, but a couple of things I just wanted to, for the data geeks out there on the side of things, when I mentioned the elites. When we're talking about elites, it's different for them because typically they're operating around that 99% of their physiological ceiling, right? They are running peak all the time. For them to have a 2% drop in what they're doing will be noticeable. For the rest of us humans out there, right? You're not gonna notice it quite as much. So do it. Don't stress about it. That fitness, right? And so when some of the numbers I used, like that 1 to 3 days, that's just a recovery time, right? Like we do that for 4 or 5 days after your big A event, or even up to 10 days before you come back. We talked about that in a previous episode about letting the CNS reset. Okay. 4 to 7 days. you basically have about a 5 to 12% drop in your blood plasma volume, right? What does that mean? It means that you have less fluid in the blood, less opportunity to carry oxygen to the cells of the body, the muscles that need it. Therefore, your heart rate has to be higher because it needs to pump more because of that decrease. That's why often athletes will see, when they stop training, a spike in the heart rate. Okay, so it's just kind of the body kind of equalizing itself out. So that's why what happens if you take that week is that basically it's that fluid shift again in the plasma. You're not necessarily losing any of your VO2 max, right? Your heart rate variability is going to be still good from what I understand. It's that 10 to 14 days is where we actually start to see some, right? Detraining or deconditioning is two terms that we use in the fitness world to explain it. And it happens around that 10 to 14 days. And again, what it is it's the physiological tipping point. So around that 2-week mark, right? You've heard me talk about how zone 2 builds up the powerhouses in the mitochondria, right? At that week 14, 10 to 14, days, those powerhouses now start to decrease because you haven't been doing that zone 2 type of training. All right. The capillary density will also begin to verifiably degrade, is the term that I came up with. So the capillaries, right? So that's delivering the blood basically to all the muscles and doing the exchange. We know that when we do fitness, we do our cardio, we get fit, the body produces more so that we can get more oxygen to all the muscles and the organs that we're using while we are in this fitness state. So again, it's that kind of, if you don't lose it, you use it, you're going to lose it. And then the body will just, again, start to basically downgrade or verifiably downgrade. Well, we don't need them anymore. So why are we pumping all the blood to them? Right? We only need this for what we're doing. So, sedentary people will have less capillary density than athletes do, right? And same thing again, the mitochondria density with those powerhouses within the muscle fibers or within the cells, that's at about the 2-week mark is when we're going to see that decrease. I found the name for the, they call it the ACWR, or the Acute to Chronic Workload Ratio, was Audit and Hulin. So they came up with this scale. Is basically, when is the acute versus the chronic workload ratio, they stack on each other. When is good, when is bad. And if you want to stay injury free, they say the sweet spot for that is about 0.8 to 1.3 on their scale. If we jump more than 1.5, it doubles your risk injury. Okay. Now to put it into training peaks for most of us in training peaks terms of what we're doing. So when we're looking at that ATL, or the acute training workload, that's your fatigue number that you'll see in that box on the right-hand side. It calculates basically your last 7 days of training. Okay. The chronic workload, the CTL fitness, is your rolling 42 days of historical database within training peaks. The TBS, okay, that the training stress, the danger zone, by cramming 3 days, for example, if we try to put 3 days of missed workouts and then start stacking them to make them out, creates an artificial spike within that training number. And then really it's, again, we are negatively putting our bodies into that fatigue state. What was the number? Here it is. I'll get straight to the point of the number, is that a healthy progression. So when we as coaches, at least myself as a coach, when I'm looking at it and I'm looking at that fitness score, I don't want to see anything bigger than about a 5-point jump week over week is what I go with. They say it can be up to 7 or 6 per week. So they say 2 to 6 is about normal in your fitness within training peaks. When we take 3 sessions like that and stack them together, we're probably going to see about a 7 or 8. And that is now almost like doubling that chances for getting injured. So it's not worth it. Not in the short term, not in the long run, because we want to sustain. We can't, right? So sustaining a 6-point week over week is overtraining, right? That is that opening up for illness and that structural breakdown. And then you can imagine, even for any athletes that are training 7 days a week, it just compounds that much more. Okay. So when we're looking at some of that numbers and what we're looking at, it's just not worth it. And anybody who wants to get into a deeper dive on this more, let me know on the number side. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about is, right, it takes 10 to 14 days for us to really start deconditioning. You're not deconditioned in 10 to 14 days. It takes about the 30-day mark to be completely deconditioned. So this is where I sometimes tell athletes, it's like, hey, I want to take the winter off and I'm going to come back. And it's like, are you seriously like not going to do anything? And we're going to take all what you've done for the last 6 months and just say, we're going to do it again? Right?
Oh, I'm so guilty of that.
We all
definitely,
are, I think.
Hung the
Yeah.
bike up, don't even want to look at you, don't go in
Right.
the pool, and then you pay the price, and you got to start back from scratch.
You do, right? And that's
Yeah.
literally what. Well, I'm gonna have some fitness.
But it
like,
comes back a little bit better. Yeah.
we will have some muscle memory, and it won't be as bad. But it's just like, why would I want to put all that fitness in the bank and then just give it away? Right. And so 30 days is about where we really will say you're deconditioned. 10 to 14 days, you start to decondition. But if you're sick, you're sick. And I mean, if COVID, some people were longer than 10 days or 14 days recovering from it. So,
There was also no races, so we're good.
that's right. There were no races. It's okay. But I've had to talk with an athlete who is, training for a half marathon, but is up, I was about to say coming up lame, but coming up injured a little bit. And I'm just like, okay, that event is close. We need to think of options right now. It's not a talk that I really enjoy having with you. They did come to me kind of pre-injured. I'll caveat that. They didn't get injured with me. And it's like, you might have to drop to a 10K. You might have to drop to a 5K because that race should be there next year. Like, you will have another chance at it again. But if we try to push through some of this fatigue, this sickness, or even injuries, I think it's just going to compound and it's going to make worse, and it takes harder. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. If it's, you're going to keep digging the hole and the water's just going to fill it faster. Yeah.
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 Very good.
Yeah.
We talked about deconditioning, right? Detraining. We've talked about, don't try to make up those days. Talk to your coaches. You're self-coached out there. Don't try to stack them. You're not gonna win. Trust your body, right? At the end of the day, like you say, you can throw all the numbers away. You can throw all away what everybody should say you should be doing. If you are off, adjust. Okay. Neck down. Maybe I should skip this workout. Maybe it should be a run walk. Maybe it should just be, I'm going to go for a walk instead of doing everything, or I'm going to jump on the bike and just do some nice cardio on the bike while I catch up or binge some show or something. Right. But you got to take care of yourself for the long term. As much as the goals and the races matter, and it's probably a lot of our intrinsic why we want to do things, please, you got to think long term. Think of you as yourself overall as an athlete and your longevity in the sport that you're doing. Any final thoughts or comments?
Yeah, and this is literally just a thought. When you do come back, don't just think I can jump right back to those same paces. Listen to your body, ease back into it. It will come back. But don't just humble you will humble yourself. And trust that. So listen to your heart rate, listen to all the other external cues, and almost, if you have to, take off the watch and just run by feel. That's going to trump all the training. Some athletes can get so caught up in the paces that it gets in their head, and I'm like, this is not okay. Ease back into it. Take off the watch and just zone 2. Keep it aerobic.
Yep.
Yep.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Remember, one bad workout, one missed workout is not going to change your whole plan. The timing of it might not be ideal in some cases, but it really, I don't think it's going to massively impact when you can take that rest day and recover or two and come back. Coach Ann, any final comments?
Not really,
No.
to be honest with you. I think that, yeah, I think it's just listening to your body, paying attention, and knowing to do what's best for you without feeling obligated in any other way. Like ultimately, it's your choice, right?
Exactly. The ultimate goal is keeping our athletes healthy in the long term. Don't force those makeup sessions, right? They're going to negatively impact your training, I believe, and we all believe. You adjust and move on, right? So pivot to have the plan B, the plan C. Fit your training, fit all of it into the chaos of life. Hey, taking 3 days of complete rest to let your fever break isn't losing fitness. It's smartly managing your chaos. So the homework for our athletes or for the listeners, audit your current training block. If you've been fighting a bug, you've been dragging your feet, you think you're getting sick, pull out your calendar and deliberately cross out some upcoming sessions, right? So if you're not feeling great, cross it out. Make the commitment that you're going to put on you to recover. Give the CNS a break. Let the body do what it's due. Get that rest. We know that while we're sleeping, the body can do its best repair, does its best work. Let us know in the comments how hard it was to let go of a session. Love to hear it. It's a real thing. We know we should do it, but yet we still do it, if that makes sense. So follow us on the Instagram, drop your comments in there, drop the comments in the show notes or the comment box or wherever you listen to us, whether it's whatever your best platform is. I'm Coach JW. Don't force the makeup session, fit the training into the chaos, and we'll see you on the trail.
You're amazing.
Stay healthy.
That's a wrap for this week on the Endurance Balance. If you enjoyed the conversation, do us a huge favor. Hit that follow or subscribe button on your podcast app right now. It's the best way to support the show. And hey, we want to see your chaos. So come find us on Instagram at The Endurance Balance and drop us a DM. For Coach Alicia and Coach Ann, I'm Coach JW. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the trails.